Hi, we'd like to welcome you to the Eagle's Nest, and I have today our guest, Jaisha Ioane. And Jaisha, we appreciate you coming and talking to us. I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and about what sports you play and what year you are in high school.
So I play volleyball and softball, and I'm a senior right now. For volleyball, I play outside, middle, really wherever she needs me. And for softball, I play center field.
That's great. Um, what have you been doing with yourself with all of the suspension of sports and stay home, stay safe? What are you doing to kind of keep busy with sports and kind of keep in shape?
So really, I've just been trying to spend time with my family since I'm usually so busy that I never get to. But other than that, I've been trying to stay active so that I can, when if softball starts up again, then I can be in shape and ready to go again.
So talking about being ready to go when you're playing a game or just getting ready to go out and play a game, a lot of people kind of have a little nerves at the beginning of the game. What do you do to kind of get rid of butterflies and get into the game itself?
I don't know if any of my teammates noticed this about me, but for volleyball during season, whenever I would wasn't playing very good or I would get in my head like mentally, I would either go to the end line or the sideline and I would just step off like out of boundaries and I would step back in and it was kind of my way of like resetting my mind and just shaking everything off and like getting right back into it.
That sounds like a great tactic to use. Now I'm going to have to watch for that if I ever see any of the games in the
Yeah.
future. So I love it. Um, as we talk about sports, there's a lot of sports figures out there, and it could be high school, college, professional. Who would you say is your favorite sports hero or sports figure that you look up to?
Um for me, I haven't really I don't really have like a specific one, but I really look up to my coaches and like the way they handle themselves in certain situations. Like my coach Jackie Carnesecca, I really look up to her because she has a lot of experience with softball and she just knows how the mind works. Her job has a lot to do with it too, so she understands how I work in that sort of sense as well.
That's great. And that's a sign of a good coach as well as one that can understand an individual and kind of tailor and help that individual.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so when you're in practices and things like that, what do you and your teammates do to kind of get rid of the over and over again drills and stuff like that in practice? So what do you do for fun?
Um usually when we had like a good week and we've won all our games, our coach would let us have like a morning practice on Friday so that we can have the rest of the day off. And everyone knows that I get the aux cord, so we listen to music and that's really fun just to like hang out and have a really chill practice in the morning. So that's always fun.
That's great, and that those things really help kind of get through those times. And with that, one of the questions I have is, what is your favorite memory? You've been playing a long time. I was looking at Max Preps at some of your stats and stuff, and for softball, you've actually been, playing varsity games since you were a freshman for part
Yeah.
of that time, and so that's a lot of games. And so through all of those and all of the volleyball games and stuff, where what would you say is your favorite sports memory or thing that you remember from all of that time in high school?
Um, that's a hard one. My probably my favorite memory is state for softball. We for some reason we always get rained out and rain delayed every year. And whenever that happens, we all the teams go under the tunnel of the complex, and because that's like just to stay dry, I guess. And someone always brings a speaker, and we always have like dance offs, and every team has their own little choreographed dance. It's so funny, and that's always one of my favorite memories because it happens every single year.
Yeah, and I'm over here just laughing because I've actually witnessed a couple
Yeah.
of those, and so it is a lot of fun to see all the girls in there just jumping around, dancing, and it's awesome to see too that a lot of times even the competing teams and stuff will all get in there together
Yeah.
while you're waiting it out. So that's awesome. Um, what age were you when you started playing either volleyball or softball or those types of things?
I've always played softball. My parents put me in t-ball as soon as I could, probably like 5 or 6, and I've always just stuck with it. And then for volleyball, I started playing when I was like 14, I think. My dad wanted me to try out my freshman year, and I did not want to at all, but I ended up loving it, and yeah, it's been fun.
That's great, and it's fun to watch. All of these sports and activities and see where for me when I was sitting here saying, okay, I want to talk to some different seniors and stuff that are getting to the end of the season, and your name came up. I was still, I mean, in my brain, you're still younger, and
Yeah.
so because I've been watching you play through the years, so that's really cool. Um, Out of all the places that you've been, whether in tournaments or any of that kind of stuff, what is your favorite venue that you've been at for playing sports?
Definitely St. George. Just 'cause we all go down as a team, we all stay in the hotels as a team, and it's a really good bonding experience for all of us because the bus ride is 3 hours, and we all just sit and talk to each other, have some laughs, it's fun, and playing down there is, um it's, like, good weather. This year we weren't able to have that, but it's okay.
Yeah, it was really tough. That was actually one of the questions I had I didn't put on here is, did you get any games in this season before they suspended play?
We played one preseason game against Riverton,
Okay.
and that didn't go very well, but
Well,
so we only played
Riverton's a tough
one.
team too, so
Yeah, they're
you
pretty good.
know, and I know you guys have chosen Riverton many years in a row to kind of start out your preseason because it's a good
Yeah.
gauge for you guys to determine where you need to work for where it really starts to count.
Yeah, we like to play good teams.
That's awesome. So, what are you looking forward to doing after high school?
So after high school, I was planning on doing esthetician school. I before I was thinking about going to Dixie and maybe playing softball or volleyball or whatever, but I think I'm just gonna go to esthetician school because I'm kind of into stuff like that. I like skincare and like things like that.
That's great. Well, I hope you do really well with that as you move forward and do all of that. Another question: as you're a senior, we're wrapping up towards the end of the year. They're talking about there is the potential for if we get to May 1st and UHSAA decides, yeah, the virus has subsided and we're going to do some play. What are your thoughts on a potential shortened but extended season for uh, the ball spring sports?
Honestly, anything as long as I get to play, just because it's my senior year, I want to finish out the year playing, you know. It's my last year, so I would
Yeah.
rather have a little bit of a season than nothing.
And with this being your last year, what would your advice be that you would give to the kids in the other classes and stuff about your high school experience, or what advice you'd give?
Yeah, so my sister is a freshman, so I got to play with her this year for volleyball and softball. And I told her, I was like, it goes by so fast, so don't take it for granted. Like, make sure that you're on time to every single game, to every single practice, because you're gonna regret not like I don't know, just not being there. You know, you have to just be in the moment.
Yeah, and that's great advice to anyone is, and I've noticed that even with my kids and stuff through not only high school but they've been in collegiate athletics as well, it's like you turn around and it's over. And so that's great advice. Last thing I kind of wanted to talk about is Maple Mountain is a member of the Especially for Athletes program. And I kind of wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to compete without contempt?
Um, so I'm on the E4A council, like the leadership council with a bunch of other kids from our school. And we've actually talked about this before. We talked about what it means to like play with good sportsmanship, if that makes sense. For example, like one time I was sliding into third and I accidentally cleated the girl and she was like on the ground crying and I was like I called time and I was like, "Are you okay? Like I'm so sorry." And she's like, "Yeah." And the girl is actually my cousin. And so I helped her off the field because she was not doing good and I felt really bad. But after the game, I went up to her and apologized and we took a picture. It was she laughed about it after. We still laugh about it to this day, but it was funny, but not really actually.
I'm sure she didn't feel it was too fun, but that's great. I appreciate those words. And overall, for especially for athletes, what other things has especially for athletes taught you as a student athlete?
For me, it's taught me how to be a leader. Like you don't have to like some girls think that if you're captain, then they're the leaders that they get to run the team, I guess. But for volleyball, like for me, that's like our coach really like made sure that we knew that anyone can be a leader and leading doesn't have to mean like bossing people around. It just means like leading by example, like showing others, like your teammates, like even on and off the court or field or whatever you're playing, like what it means to be just a good person in general, I guess.
That's great. Well, we want to thank you, Jaisha, for joining us today and spending some time answering some questions. And this has been a good opportunity for us to kind of showcase some of the seniors as well as some of the other individuals. And we thank you for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right. And so, again, I'm your host, Jeff Porcaro, and we want you to make sure that you follow us on our social media sites. We have YouTube channel that you can subscribe to of Maple Mountain Sports. We have Instagram, Maple Mountain Sports. We have Facebook, Maple Mountain Sports, and our Twitter is Maple MTN Sports. And you can get an opportunity to see a lot of information about the great Maple Mountain athletes and the athletic events that we have. And I thank you for following us today. And I'm your host, Jeff Porcaro, and this is the Eagle's Nest.